Greetings, brothers and sisters, and other Hollywood celebrities dropping like flies.
They're dropping like flies.
Listen, people are dropping like flies out there.
I am
Boop.
pissed off.
We're dropping like flies around here.
We're dropping like flies here. Jeez, sir, 2 more just went down. Dropping like flies.
Too many people around here been dropping like flies already, and where's that getting us, huh? Nowhere. Fast.
Biden's being Biden's being an extremist.
Crush that fly.
Okay, so I wasn't going to make a video today. I just got home. I put up a lot of content on my other channels, and I'm working on like an Epic Journey series edition for those of you who watch that, covering the gathering, all these things. So we got a ton of work to do outside on the farm. You know, we had a car accident. Please don't say anything about it. I'm fine, fully recovered, but it set us back. But there's some huge news here. So let's start off with this. Cleveland's King James spends roughly $1.5 million per year on training, recovery, and diet. So to keep his body going, LeBron James spends this much money every year, over $1 million, 1.5, maybe more now, because of his age. And so we're going to come back to that. So his son, Bronny James, suffers cardiac arrest. Multiple stories about this. Bronny James is an elite athlete who is heading to the NBA possibly next season, or was going to head to the NBA. He was maybe a one-and-done player. I'll explain that in a moment. He's now in stable condition. And so this is what the family said. Yesterday, while practicing, Bronny James suffered a cardiac arrest. That means his heart stopped. He plays for USC, University of Southern California basketball team. Yesterday, while practicing, Bronny James suffered a cardiac arrest. Medical staff was able to treat Bronny and take him to the hospital. He is now in stable condition and no longer in ICU. We ask for respect and privacy for the James family, and we will update media when there is more information. LeBron, Savannah wish to publicly send their deepest thanks and appreciation to USC medical and athletic staff for their incredible work and dedication for the safety of their athletes. So here he is here, and you can see he is in good physical shape. So this is him playing in some high school summer league or something. And so here he comes up the court, and watch this dunk he puts in. Like, that's a savage dunk. It's a very hard dunk to do. There'll be an up-close view of this here. Look at the crowd going nuts, right? This kid, like, they're shocked at his team. That's his brother. That's LeBron James' other son here. So here's the dunk. Now, this is hard to do, right? He's going away from the hoop, and he's going to dunk it while going under the basket. I mean, he's an amazing athlete is what I'm saying here. This is SportsCenter. It's the #1 story on SportsCenter. Again, this is LeBron James is considered, basketball royalty, one of the premier athletes in the world, and his son is following in his footsteps.
News about LeBron James, his oldest son, the news that came out just over an hour ago, and it is terribly disturbing news out of Los Angeles. Bronny James, it is our breaking news. The 18-year-old son of LeBron James collapsed after suffering. Okay, so we're going to return to that. Tori Kelly hospitalized after collapsing, getting treated for blood clots. I'm not sure what ethnicity she is, but I'm going to talk about this later. Then there's this. Barack and Michelle Obama's personal chef drowns near couple's estate in Martha's Vineyard. He's apparently a strong swimmer and died in 8 feet of water. And I guess my wife was telling me, and I didn't check this out, but this is stuff that's going on the internet, that's their second personal chef that's died. You know, the Clintons had a lot of this kind of stuff, right? I'm not going to comment anymore on this because I don't have time to look into it. Just throwing that out there. And then there's this. Marquise Godwin, who is, somebody I recognize his name. He's 32 years old. That he has blood clots, right? So here's another athlete with
blood clot, some kind of issue. I don't know if he might not play football ever again. Okay, so let's start with the Bronny James stuff. So first of all, LeBron James has redefined athlete bodily care. Like I said, he's spending $1.5 million on his physical, keeping his physical instrument, his body to play basketball as an athlete as young as possible. He's had extraordinary regimens, and they have redefined this across the board. Athletes are much better taken care of. He's very disciplined in his diet. There's a period of time where he lost a lot of weight. He retained his muscle strength but lost weight, and that prolonged his career because he wasn't carrying as much bulk on his joints and ligaments and things like this. And he does a host of different type of medical treatments, and his sons are a part of this. LeBron James's goal was to play with Bronny James before he retired, that they would play on the same team. And Bronny was going to play in college next year, and probably enter the draft where he would be a lottery pick, one of the top 10, 12 picks, probably be a top 5, 7 pick, right? Extraordinary athlete and good shooter, and, somebody in the prime of his condition. Now, when I played basketball, there was a certain period of time, as I got into my 20s, where I became more and more sore. And, physically I was in the same level of shape and I could run as much. But there's something about when you go into your 20s. I work with a guy, he was working at our treatment center during the summer, and he played basketball for Yale. And he was, Yale isn't a great team, but it's still Division I. He was a good basketball player. He had, a lot of, quality basketball skills. And he said to me, he used to run the previous year and not be sore, and he could run all day. He had just turned 21. He said, I'm just sore all the time, right? And I was just turning 29. I said, yeah, it gets worse and worse every year. That the recovery time between when you play basketball and how sore you are and all these things just gets worse and worse. You can still do everything you used to do until you're, in your 30s maybe, and then you start getting slower, your reaction time, especially if you have injuries and things. But it's just what happens, right? Your skill level and knowledge go up, and your experience and your strength, you get this, man strength or whatever, as you get older. But you start slowing down a little bit. You can't jump as high, and it just keeps on diminishing. And Bronny James is like at the peak of his athletic ability. He's still young. He was like 18, 19, whatever it was. 18, I guess 19 going into college. And there's no reason this should happen, but it's happening all the time. Especially, they probably have a doctor that lives in their house. They have dietitians, and they have the best of all these things, right? LeBron James has influenced other people. Kyrie Irving, he used to eat junk food, like things like this. LeBron James came to his team, and he started to take better care of his diet and things. I mean, he's influenced other people. And so it's a whole, thing that's done now for these professional athletes. There's just so much more knowledge. And Bronny James grew up with this. And so to me, there's only one explanation, and you guys know what that is, right? It's the boop. And this wide receiver is another example of this with blood clots. And, I've been covering this for a while. We've just been covering Jamie Foxx and other people. That guy, Lance, whatever his name, that actor. It seems like I disproportionately end up covering African-American people here. If you look at died suddenly, and, there's lots of different demographics, but there's a lot of black people that have issues with blood clots and heart issues, number of athletes we've seen. I recently covered Kennedy, and he was accused of being a racist because he was saying that, that African-American people shouldn't get the blue, and he wasn't saying that. He was saying that certain demographics seem to do worse with COVID. And this guy, Senator Massey, or Representative Massey from Kentucky, submitted a couple of studies that this was studied, and that COVID affected certain ethnic groups and races disproportionately, and African Americans were amongst them. And again, I don't know about this. I'm just saying this is what I saw and heard in the hearing. And Kennedy was being called a racist because people of color, African American people, if they listened to his point of view, would be less likely to get the boop, right? But, you got to wonder, right? At this point, you should be wondering, how the hell does Bronny James, who is as fit and in his athletic prime and a well taken care of person, have his heart stop? His heart stopped, and they must have defibrillators there. There's going to be no video, but I'm sure the video exists. And he was laying there, just like Damar Hamlin. This is happening all the time now. A delayed reaction, where there's blood clots, there's an uptick in blood clots and cardiac arrest and defibrillators. I covered this so much. There's a heart safe. I mean, you've seen this, heart safe schools and things like this. That's a whole new thing where defibrillators are being installed in high schools and colleges and athletic facilities. I've never seen anybody drop dead on the basketball court. I played basketball for 20 years. I played in leagues with, sometimes older guys in their 30s and, certainly intense pickup games and things. I mean, high level competition. And I never saw anybody collapse. There's that thing called Marfan syndrome where there's these, this condition where people who are tall, they have like some kind of like a hole in their chest cavity and their heart explodes through it, something like that. And so, there's that, but it's very rare. And now we see athletes dropping like flies all the time. And so to call somebody racist because, what this woman said is that people who listen to him, black people listen to him, listen to Kennedy, this was in the court hearing and the censorship hearing, would be less likely to get the bloop and then therefore would die because they didn't have the life-saving bloop, right? And so I covered this extensively. But here's evidence, like, just a short time afterwards, linking Kennedy's position with something that is, that's happening, right? To, all kinds of different demographics, but definitely there's a lot of African-American people who are dying suddenly and unexpectedly, and many of them are in good shape, physical shape. Many of them exercise and, they're in good shape. And so, what's happening here, right? And so, I just thought I'd add those things. Again, I'll probably post another video in 2 days. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I'll probably post on my other channel tomorrow and then 2 days post here. But I had to get this in. I know people are messaging me with this. I haven't even looked at the messages, but this is a huge story. And, LeBron knows, they all know, he should come forward and say. They must all have suspicion now, right? How can you not have suspicion, right? With all the stuff that Kyrie Irving went through and all these other things, and then you have this. I mean, Kyrie is LeBron's former teammate. And, all these other guys who capitulated, and now his kid has had a cardiac arrest. His heart stopped. A heart attack's a lot better than cardiac arrest. His heart stopped. And then, the rest of it, right? This has happened quite a bit to lots of athletes, Damar Hamlin, some of these other people. And if there's a connection to the bloop, then LeBron should say. Only spirituality will save this world. It's paramount, definitely important for the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.